When the U.S. apartment market started to post some big progress in 2010, Kansas City was lagging behind at a much more moderate pace. But in the past 2 quarters, Kansas City's apartment market is starting to post some impressive gains. Welcome to Apartment Market Dynamics from MPF Research. I'm Jay Parsons with your Kansas City update. And let's get things started with some occupancy numbers for you. Take a look at this chart, and you can see that in the downturn, occupancy here fell more than 4 percentage points, dropping just below 90% at the end of 2009. Now, we did see some decent occupancy gains in 2010, but then occupancy rates appeared to level out for 4 straight quarters right around the 92% mark, and the market finally broke out of that pattern in 2Q of this year, jumping up to 93%, and then we saw another 1-point jump in 3Q, bringing overall occupancy to 94%, roughly in line with pre-recession levels and now a couple ticks above the U.S. norm. We're seeing this trend essentially across the board, with every product age group and nearly every submarket posting some good occupancy progress over the past 6 months. And those occupancy gains are starting to lead to some good rent growth for the Kansas City apartment market. Take a look at this chart showing quarterly same-store rent change by quarter. You could see that rents here weren't slashed especially hard during the recession, but we didn't see much good growth either until the past 2 quarters. Rents jumped 2.7% in second quarter of 2011, and they're up another 1.6% in third quarter. 2 good quarters, and that brings year-over-year rent growth to 2.9%, which is still below the U.S. average. And what's interesting is we're seeing this good revenue growth in the Kansas City apartment market despite continued struggles in the local economy. As you can see from this chart here, Kansas City ranked 4th nationally for job loss in the past year, a net loss of 12,600 jobs. Only Atlanta, Northern New Jersey, and Long Island suffered more, and compared to pre-recession levels, Kansas City is down by around 60,000 jobs. And what's also interesting is that thanks to the growth in the past 6 months, the Kansas City apartment market is now outperforming show-me state neighbor St. Louis. And that's despite employment growth already kicking back in St. Louis. Occupancy in St. Louis is still at 93.6%, and that's actually down 0.2 points annually, and rents there are up just 1.7% year over year, and all of those metrics come in below what we're seeing in Kansas City. And let's wrap it up for you with some brief submarket highlights. As usual, Kansas City's Johnson County submarkets generally have the strongest occupancy rates. 4 of the 5 spots that are at or above 95% are in Johnson County, but the leader is the Lee's Summit Blue Springs area in Jackson County, which is at 96.9%. And interestingly, rent growth levels vary notably by area. No clear pattern there at all. Independence and Central Kansas City lead at 6.7% and 6.5% respectively, despite having relatively weaker occupancy rates around 92 to 93%. And looking ahead to 2012, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the Kansas City apartment sector. This is a market that is potentially vulnerable to see revenue growth levels drop down a bit relative to the good numbers we've seen so far in 2011, unless the economy starts to show some good progress finally. And that wraps us up for Kansas City. So until next time, for Apartment Market Dynamics and MPF Research, I'm Jay Parsons. Thanks for watching.
Want more? Go deeper with MPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, MPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.